Hi everybody, Dr. Liz here, and I am here to talk to you in this video about your Milestone One submission, the introduction portion of what is going to be your final paper. And to do that, I am going to use the Milestone One guidelines and rubric, which is the link that's embedded in that assignment, which I have here. And before I start talking about the actual content of the paper, let's talk really quickly about the guidelines, just like the formatting kind of stuff. And I know, first of all, if you see this first part about that it's got to be written in APA, that can be a little bit scary. I know a lot of classes require MLA, and believe me, I understand what a hassle APA can be. I wrote an entire dissertation using it and literally had nightmares about my advisor giving me guff for having a period in the wrong place. So believe me, I understand it. I'm going to provide some extra resources to you, which I will give to you in a separate video so you can see where those are and to kind of help you out with that formatting. But some of the big ideas are here in the guidelines. So that it's got to be double spaced, 12 point times New Roman, 1-inch margins. Those are the things that are a little bit less nitpicky that you can do on Microsoft Word or in a Google Doc. And if you have any problems with that, please feel free to email me. I promise I don't mind at all if you need help with that. But the big thing I want to make sure you know about the formatting is that I get how tough it is. I'm going to give you some resources for you to use for help on that. And I'm also not going to grade that part of your early milestones that hard because, again, I know that it's hard. So I will give you advice and certain things that need to be changed when I grade your Milestone 1 and your Milestone 2. Obviously, to get the best grade on your final paper, you want to make sure that you make those changes. But this is nothing to get too stressed out about because, believe me, I know APA can be kind of a pain. All right, so let's talk about the actual content of your paper, which is established up here in the prompt. And I'm somebody that learns much better from examples, so I'm going to use an article, which I am going to link in this along the same place where you got this video. And so I'll link a copy of the article in case you want to use it. But I thought it would be good to actually see an example using an article that we used to use for this class about like how to answer the different parts of the prompt. Because I know I learn better through examples. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there do too. So the biggest thing you need to know is like the big idea behind the article. And the researcher interviewed a bunch of people that have been convicted of crimes. Well, actually, it was just all men that have been convicted of crimes and sought to find out whether or not something called LFOs, which you can see right here in the article, I want to use a highlighter. There we go. Legal financial obligations. So these are like fees, fines, basically the money part of being convicted. So if you have to pay restitution, if you have to pay different fines, they lumped child support in there too, which I kind of struggle with that a little bit. But basically any of the money associated with being convicted of a crime. And the researcher wanted to see what the impact of those fees and fines and all of that had to do on somebody that is convicted of a crime. Not all of them went to prison, some did, but not all of them. They were all convicted of something and had these fines to pay. And so the researcher just wanted to see what is the impact on these people that are convicted. Because her idea is basically if you roll back into society and you have all this debt that you owe, it might make it a little bit harder for you to, live a regular life without all this pressure. And unfortunately, we all know that a lot of people that are convicted of crimes do end up going back and committing more crimes. So part of it was she wanted to see whether or not these fees have something to do with that fact. So if you were writing a research paper using this article and you were trying to answer the first part of the introduction, the focus of the article. It's important for you to know that you just need to focus on like the big ideas that are in this article. So you need a paragraph, and you would probably want to include some things like it's about the criminal justice system, people that have all been convicted. You definitely want to tell the reader what an LFO is, that it's a fee, that it's a fine. So you're basically just telling them like the big picture. What is this article about? It's about the criminal justice system. It's about the fees and fines and financial obligations that people face after being convicted of a crime. For section 2, the purpose of the study, this is going to get a little bit more specific. So again, think of 1 as being more like big picture, okay? And then the second section explaining the purpose is going to be a little bit more specific. And I'm not the biggest fan of this wording right here. What was the study trying to achieve? Because in research, we try to be unbiased and not, hopefully we're not going into a research study with an agenda. Now, we might have a hypothesis, like we might have an idea of what we think is going to happen, but I'm not a huge fan of the way, I feel like it can be a little bit confusing by saying, what was it trying to achieve? Because ultimately, a lot of researchers aren't really like trying to prove something. They're just trying to see whether or not, evidence of something exists. So for the purpose of the study, I actually recommend, instead of thinking about it this way, like what is it trying to achieve? So I think a better way to think about it is like what question or questions is this study trying to answer? And you can search in the article for, a lot of the time they just spell out for you what the research questions are. But then a lot of the time you can look for a sentence that says something like the purpose of this study or this study sought to. That kind of wording is what you should look for. And I cannot stress enough how important I think it is once you choose the article that you're going to use, download a copy of it to a PDF, because the really cool thing about it being a PDF instead of just reading it online is that it has this little search box right here. So you can actually look for that information, because there's a lot that you need to read through in a research study. A lot of them start off with the abstract. And again, the abstract, in case you didn't watch my previous video, just kind of gives you a general idea about what the article is about. And then they do something called a literature review, where they look at previous research and come up with ideas based on that previous research. So there's a lot for me to scroll through here right now. Keep going, keep going. There's a lot, right? And I'm not saying at all that you shouldn't read that. But if you want to narrow down, where are the research questions? This search box up here at the top of a PDF document is awesome, because I can type in there research questions, and then voila, there they are for this article, highlighted in yellow. But again, you know that it doesn't always spell out, so you can actually search purpose of this study. This study sought to. Look for those words, and that will give you a really good idea of what it is exactly this study is trying to accomplish, which in my opinion really means what question or questions was it trying to answer. And then the last question that you're going to answer, so the characteristics of the group being studied. So depending on whether you're watching this video toward, before you've read the assignment for this week or after, you might not know exactly what the difference is between population and sample. And so the population is the entire group that we are interested in. And in the case of our article, the whole group we're interested in would probably be people who have, sorry, my handwriting is terrible, been convicted, right? Like, they're looking for information about everybody that's been convicted of a crime. And this would be like all people who have been convicted. But the sample is just a small part, and the sample would be the people in this study. So even though this article is looking for insight into everybody that's ever been convicted of a crime, the sample of this group is like who exactly was interviewed or surveyed or whatever the research article does. Like, who are the people specifically in this study? And man, I just glanced at that and realized how ugly that word "this" is. So where do you find information about that group being studied? Well, a lot of the time, you just need to look in the article for the word sample. Because again, the sample is the word that we use in statistics for the people that were used as the sample for that study. So a lot of the time, you just need to look for the word sample. However, sometimes they don't make it that clear, and you should look for words like individuals. Oh, another word that I see a lot is participants. And then sometimes they just put that information into a table. So if I'm going back to my article, say I want to go up here and search participants. Yep, there we go. It's right there. So again, those are words that you want to use if you're like trying to search. And then a lot of the time they will also provide information about, which you can see right here. In table 1, it says descriptive statistics for the sample. So it tells you their average age, the percentage that, like their ethnicity, and then the different categories of crime that they committed. So look for that kind of stuff in order to help you to figure out who's the sample being studied in this particular study. So I know this video is pretty long. I appreciate so much your attention and your patience, and I hope you found this information a little bit useful. If you have any questions whatsoever, I want nothing more than to help you. So please be sure to email me if you've got any questions, and please be on the lookout. Basically, wherever you got this video, you should also see videos for helping you with the discussion post and the APA formatting. And if you have any other questions, I look forward to hearing them. Thanks so much, guys.